You ever notice how the city at night makes everybody feel a little bit smaller? Like even the biggest problems don't matter when you're just another shadow slipping between neon and rain? That's how it was for me back then, 16. Nowhere to go, living off whatever I could dig out of the trash, invisible to everybody except the security camera behind Jefferson Bakery and the occasional dog rooting through the same dumpster. I learned pretty early that in this city, nobody looks down. Nobody wants to know how close the edge really is. You just fade in with the steam, the sirens, the greasy glow of the noodle shops and bodegas, and keep your head down. You know what I mean? So there I was, picking through old bread just after sundown, rain coming on, streets thick with umbrellas, and people clutching takeout in grocery bags, hustling home to somewhere warm. I'm hunched behind this dumpster, sleeves soaked, shoes squishing, thinking maybe I'll get lucky and find something not green. And then out of nowhere, I hear this little sound, like a cat, only sadder. I freeze. I've learned, strange noises after dark usually mean trouble, or at least somebody more desperate than me. But what I found, damn, curled up behind a stack of boxes, shivering, dressed dirty and torn, feet swollen and scratchy to kid. No, like a real kid, maybe 6 or 7, big curls matted, skin all bruised up, just sitting there not making a sound. Her eyes, man, it took me a second to realize she wasn't looking at me at all. She was staring straight past everything. Blind and cold and definitely alone. Hey, I said quiet, real careful, the way you talk to a stray dog that might bite. She didn't answer, didn't even flinch. I asked if she was okay, and she barely turned her head toward my voice, telling me she wasn't supposed to talk to strangers. Her voice was all scratchy, tired. I said, fair enough. I'm Malik. No stranger now. She still didn't answer, but her hand was gripping this piece of cardboard, so tight her knuckles were white. I asked if she was hungry, stupid question, I guess, but what else do you say? She gave this tiny nod, like she barely wanted to admit it. So I pulled out the only real food I had, a turkey sandwich from some church lady's kindness that morning, unwrapped it, handed it over. The way she ate, not like she was starving, more like she was afraid it'd disappear if she blinked. I almost cried, right there in the alley, but you don't do that. Not in front of someone who needs you to pretend things are okay. Her name was Ava. She didn't know where she was. Didn't even know how long she'd been there. So I sat with her, sharing the last of my bread, listening to the rain start to tap against the metal lids and broken glass. For a long time, we just sat, two nobodies in the city that eats nobodies for breakfast. When she started shivering hard enough her teeth clicked, I offered my shelter a half-collapsed lean-to behind the gas station, tarp and plywood, barely enough to keep out the rain. She didn't argue, just took my hand when I offered. I wrapped her up in my blanket, gave her the dry side, let her rest her head on an old hoodie bunched up like a pillow. She fell asleep too fast for a kid, honestly like she was afraid to be awake any longer. I sat up half the night, knees to my chest, just listening. Not to the city, but to her breathing, the kind of slow, steady breathing you only get after crying yourself empty. I kept thinking, man, what happens to kids like her? Who lets this happen? Where's her mom? But I didn't ask. Sometimes the worst things are the things you can't say out loud, you know? At some point, she woke up and whispered, "You still there?" And I told her I was. She asked if I had a moment, said, "Used to," and she said, "Me too." We didn't talk much after that. I told her a story, made it up as I went a girl who could see everything, not with her eyes, but with her ears. She liked that, so it was a good story. I told her I was still figuring out the ending. By dawn, the rain had stopped, but the air was thick and heavy. I knew we couldn't stay put. There's always a window between when the world is still and when it wakes up to notice you shouldn't be there. I got her up, helped her into my hoodie I'd hung off her like a cape, carried her on my back out of the alley and into the city. We moved slow, me ducking through alleys and behind dumpsters, avoiding the main streets. Nobody stops a boy carrying a girl unless they smell trouble, and most people in this city are already busy dodging their own. When we passed the phone repair shop, I heard the news playing. The photo on the screen was Ava, all cleaned up and smiling, a missing child. Reward offered. I felt her tighten up behind me, and the guys in the shop started talking, but I just kept moving. We ducked out before anybody could get smart ideas. I got lucky a laundromat. Lady there let me use her map. Figured out where Ava had come from, some park in West End, at least 10 miles off. Buses wouldn't take us, so I walked. Rain or no rain, wet socks and everything, just kept going. I carried her until I couldn't, stopped, rested, carried her again. Every block got heavier. My feet hurt, my back was screaming, but I just kept thinking, I can't let her end up back in the dark. You know what's wild? Not a single person stopped us, not really. They looked, sure, but it's like the city trains you to look away. It isn't until the very end, walking up those perfect tree-lined streets, that I started getting nervous. When I saw the big iron gate, I thought, no way she belongs here. But that's what the address said. I hit the call button, heart about to break through my ribs. A voice answered. I told them I found Ava. The gate opened. Out came a tall man in a suit and a woman already crying. I put Ava down. She said, "Daddy," and ran straight in his arms. The man picked her up, sobbing, and the woman wrapped them both up, whispering prayers or thank yous, I don't know. They started to usher everyone inside, and just like that, I slipped away. Nobody asked my name. Nobody stopped me. I don't even think they saw me leave. I walked back into the rain, lighter and heavier all at once. My body felt wrecked, but my heart, well, for once, it felt like I'd actually done something right. I crashed at a bus stop, pulled my knees up, listened to the city keep moving. In another world, maybe I would have stayed, told them who I was, let them thank me, whatever. But that's not how it works. Not for me. But here's the twist. The story didn't end there. Turns out, the security cameras at the house caught the whole thing, and by morning, the footage was all over social media. Unknown teen walks 10 miles in the rain to return blind girl to her family, then disappears. People started talking, asking questions, wondering who I was. I had no idea. I was already back downtown, looking for breakfast behind the same old store. That's when he found me. Ava's dad, Nathan Carroll. He showed up while I was half asleep on the sidewalk, thermos of hot tea in his hand, and just sat down next to me. Didn't ask what I wanted. Didn't call the cops. Just said, "You belong somewhere, Malik. Not out here." He told me Ava was safe because of me, that I'd done something nobody else had, and now it was his turn to help. He offered his hand, simple as that. For a second, I almost didn't take it. I mean, life teaches you not to trust a hand you didn't ask for. But then I did. I took it, and for once, I didn't look back. Weeks later, the city barely remembered our story, but in that big house, Ava had her family again. And me? I had a place at her breakfast table. New shoes, a clean sweatshirt, school bag at my feet. Family, not by blood, but by something stronger. Somebody looked at me and said, "You belong here." And this time, I let myself believe it. So let me ask you, who decides who belongs and who doesn't? What does it really mean to do the right thing in a world that's always moving too fast to care? Share your thoughts, your stories. Let's talk about what's fair, what's just, and why we still believe in showing up for strangers, because sometimes that's all it takes.